Can't put me again. You can't put me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't put me again. Can't put me again. You can't put me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't put me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, me say we eat the yellow correct you. Use the youth, the money, waste no must a man to statue. Say me like a catch you, but they got in a figure you. Take the spit of money, got and say that is not you. On the head, the man above him, him a got up. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social leaders coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage pile of the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption face.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't put me again. You can't put me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't put me again. Can't put me again. You can't put me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't put me again.
Come me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The 100 the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, them rap and they down in a whatever. Member bold money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start and thief when them sell.
It burn me.
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me.
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the dirt man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the sun man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me.
Or them a treat soldier man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat everyone.
Can't put me again. You can't put me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't put me again. Can't put me again.
Stevie dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no cape. And some informer friend we love like. We in Global, bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for. We in Global TV, check it.
This coming Friday is a much awaited judgment that the country, as well as the Prime Minister, eagerly waits to hear from the courts. But we are starting the conversation before the handing down of the ruling on Friday. We're going to look at the Prime Minister's integrity debacle and also remind the Prime Minister of things the Prime Minister have said as recent as 2019. Good evening and welcome to Drive Time London. Thank you all for joining us this evening. To my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, via subscribers, commenters, and trolls, good evening and welcome. Good evening to everyone on YouTube and on the Gram. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm just doing a little bit of technicality behind here. Spare me. Bear with. Yes. EM, thank you very much for your support. Very, very much appreciated. And before we start this evening, I want to say to you all in the top of the chat, the link is pinned to the East Portland Caretaker GoFundMe campaign, Isaac Buchanan, for the assistance for the people of Portland, because since Beryl, Raphael, and into the heavy rainfall, there's an awful lot of woeful things going on in Portland. So the GoFundMe is pinned in the top of the chat. Do give your support to the people of East Portland. If you can do so, just hit the link. It will take you straight to the donation page. Good evening, Arlene Foster. Good evening. Good evening, Beverly. Good evening, Beaton Teach. Good evening and welcome. Good evening, all. Shadi Van Iris, Rose Sweet. Good evening, Country Gal 84. EM, good evening, and thank you very much. Always supportive. Deb, Empress Deb, good evening. Lynn Miles, good evening. Jacqueline Murray, good evening, and welcome. Carl Metrics, good evening. Following on from last night to this morning on the big old pig Ramesh issue, I'm going to give Maya and TJ free advice. Rodney Reed, Kazmat. I'm going to give you free advice, Michael Coley, because it looked like when I want to let Ramesh off the hook softly. Now, if you don't want to pursue a criminal action against Ramesh, fine, June 26. But what you ought to do is go after them in civil lawsuit, and I'll explain to you here. Now, it is alleged, and from the evidence and the investigation, that the members who Ramesh ordered to attack you are off-duty members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Evan Riley. Therefore, you're going to go after the Jamaica Constabulary Force under the negligence principle of vicarious responsibility. The employer, which is the Jamaica Constabulary Force, is responsible for the actions of its on or off duty police, because their actions brings disrepute to the JCF. This is a lawsuit that you would call walking to the bank. What they're all afraid of, they're afraid of reputational damages and public embarrassment. They're also afraid of a court ruling against them, particularly if they've been criticized in the judgment. So you must go after the Jamaica Constabulary Force on the vicarious responsibility. The officers that assaulted you, you must also take a civil lawsuit against them individually. With regards to Ramesh, you're going to go after Ramesh company, not Ramesh the person. You're going to go after his company. That is who you're going to sue. With his corporate linkage and all sorts, what he's careful of at the moment is to avoid further disgrace and public embarrassment. I guarantee you, both the JCF and Ramesh would want to settle with you in a lawsuit rather than going through a nasty court debacle that might turn out not so well for them. So both of you, especially Maya, because you are the stronger one, both of you, if you do not pursue them criminally, you must pursue them in a lawsuit. The JCF under the vicarious responsibility rules. The officers, you go after them individually as well. Ramesh as well, you go after his company. And to you, the general public who think Ramesh should be punished, any of these corporate entities and brand that is attached to Ramesh, if they do not drop him or distance themselves from him, then you, the public, must boycott them. This abuse goes far and wide. The state is involved, wittingly or unwittingly, in this criminality and abuse. It must not be covered up. It must not be quiet. You must sue the hell out of him and make sure when you're going after them, you negotiate from very high. Negotiate from very high. Emerald Green. He ought to be disciplined. So, don't make nobody tell you about the makeup case, or if you have a makeup case, it must be in the decent amount of millions. But not make nobody buy your outfit cheap, because what he has done as well, he has embarrassed your brand. You are your brand. And he has embarrassed you in public. That was his intention, to create public embarrassment to you and your brand. And he must pay for that. Ivan Bradford, how are you? Ivan Riley, good evening. Good evening. Colleen Richards, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button, please. And thank you. So, the Prime Minister is why we're out here with his disgraceful, what the boy name again, a Rampus or whatever, them say some multiple victim violent incident happening in a Spanish town. Quite a few people get shooting, which is possibly a reprisal from the bad man. Must have been on the Rampus, which kind of puss him may be, that was shot hours earlier. But what I want to ask Babsy, does she know anything about this violence anywhere in the neck of her woods or near her surrounding? Get a holy, get lime, ginger, garlic, turmeric, and mix a dangerous shot. If you want, add a little honey to it and take it and go wrap up and sleep. If you want, you can dust a bit of cayenne pepper in it as well. Your first 24 hours, you must attack the flu aggressively with a lot of all these different natural remedies. If you do that within the first 24 hours, it slows the flu virus down so much. Attack it aggressively within the first few hours. So, Babsy, just in case you know anything about this multiple victim violent incident in Spanish Town, how you do, Sharon Bernard? In case you know about the multiple victim violent incident and the Brem, we have my Spanish Town, Babs, because we know so you always rent car and gun give them, you know. It's really not a secret or a surprise, isn't it, Babsy? That you have high links with the looting and shooting in Spanish Town. So we just ask if you know anything about this recent uprising, Babsy, if you could pass the information on to the police, is what the Prime Minister said. If you don't know about any crime or such a like or such a forth, pass the information, Babsy, on to the police. The most disgraceful money-grabbing Prime Minister we've ever had on record is Andrew Michael Holness, DLP. Come in and call your doctor. Andrew Holness, DLP, is the most crooked money-grabbing leader we've ever had since independence. However, to some, this is sliced bread prime minister, best since independence. One who did all the hoots and toots, the lowest employment rate, the best economy the economy has ever been. One would be of that view. Some argued that view stringently. Prime Minister sliced bread. But for me and for some, it is the most disgraceful, money-grabbing prime minister we've ever engaged. Shameless as well. Roll comfortably, quietly from one scandal to another. I mean, if scandal asks for a break, this prime minister would not feel comfortable. Because this prime minister survives on scandal. Whether it be from Andrew Wheatley right down to NEPA, it is a rolling cascade of scandal for the prime minister. Never before have we seen a prime minister in struggle with the integrity and corruption body or legislation in this country. We have never seen it. But this prime minister has broken history. Hooray! Andrew Holness. A first, where a government, when was in a position, debated and passed the Corruption Prevention Act. The same prime minister is in court, striking out, arguing before the court to strike out the section that creates the crime of illicit enrichment, the ill-gotten gains of the prime minister. That which the prime minister cannot justify or account for. Should we listen to what the prime minister said in 2019 and then wonder if I am the mad one or the prime minister is the madder one? Or is it that I have gotten early dementia and the prime minister is at an advanced state of dementia, prime minister? Something is horribly wrong. Canadian gal, how are you? Something is awfully wrong with our prime minister.
19.
I couldn't leave this stage without saying to you that corruption is not an issue that occupies the front of my mind. I couldn't leave here today and say to you that we still need to tighten up on the new anti-corruption systems and framework that is in place. In a sense, if you were to compare Jamaica to all the other countries in the Caribbean, our framework for anti-corruption would be the most advanced. It is not for want of putting in the legislative and institutional processes. They are there. But you have to bear in mind that we are also very new on the scale of dealing with anti-corruption issues. So there is a learning curve that we are going through. What is important is that the government supports the development of the institution so it can accelerate very quickly on that learning curve and provide the resources so that they can move very quickly on the learning curve, and that the government does not intervene or interfere. And that message goes to the opposition as well. Leave the anti-corruption and policing agencies to do their jobs.
And I want a tongue make cow not talk. Cow just decide to say, if me fi open my mouth and talk bullshit like Andrew Holness, then me just don't talk. But it's not because me not have tongue, says cow. I wonder if the prime ministers really said that. That was 2019, you know. And I want a tongue McCona talk, Prime Minister Marcia Thomas. How are you? A cousin say, Caulfield said, if me feel open my mouth and talk bullshit like the Jamaica Prime Minister, me might as well just don't talk. What does Andrew Holness mean when he says tightening up the corruption legislation and institution? Now, the legislation he's talking about would be the Corruption Prevention Act, the Integrity Act, amongst others. The institution he would be referring to would be the Integrity Commission, FID, TAJ. Those would be the institutions that he would be strengthening. So those institutions can tackle corruption, because corruption is a thing that is on the Prime Minister's mind. But I wonder though, Prime Minister, if the corruption is on your mind, is how we're going to tackle corruption in our country, or at what point the country is going to find out that I'm one of the most corrupt they've ever engaged with. I don't know. You see, because you speak upside down and back and front, sir, it hard. Denise Hilton, how are you? Because you speak upside down and back and front, it's hard to follow the track of what you mean when you say them. And when you say them, if you actually mean them. And if you actually mean them when you say them, do you actually mean to carry them out, put them in practice? Because you know, so-and-so, Prime Minister. Because come Friday, we are waiting to hear if the court will give you the green light to go ahead to challenge in court the validity of Section 14.5 of the Corruption Prevention Act, Prime Minister. So I don't know what to make of it when you speak, because as me say, you speak upside down and back and front, because if you are going to strengthen the integrity, the corruption prevention legislation and institution, and then is the same Prime Minister that is taking the Integrity Commission to court, is trying to struck out Section 14.5 of the Corruption Prevention Act. Am I silly to be confused as to what that means, Prime Minister? 2019, you are going to strengthen the legislation and the institution. 2024, you're in the court fighting to struck out that which you claim to be strengthening. Am I silly to be confused here? Or is it you confusing us by double talking us or taking U-turns on us? Which is it, Prime Minister?
19. I couldn't leave the stage without saying to you that corruption is not an issue that occupies the front of my mind. I couldn't leave here today and say to you that we still need to tighten up on the new anti-corruption systems and framework that is in place.
Then, Prime Minister, what would be the rightful thing for you to do? If you mean that which you were saying in 2019, then you ought to pull your case from in front of the court. You see, just like how you give the order for the case against Tradewind Citrus to be pulled from in front from the court, this is what you need to do if it is that you want to strengthen the anti-corruption system in this country. Then you can't be fighting to struck out of the legislative book that which creates the crime of illicit enrichment. None of these things make sense, Prime Minister. It's just like they like this code where you promise the nation 3 times and still yet to deliver it and will not be able to deliver it before you leave government. That's the problem. I'm good, my friend. I'm good. How you doing? Long time. Why
If you were to compare Jamaica to all the other countries in the Caribbean, our framework for anti-corruption would be the most advanced. It is not for want of putting in the legislative and institutional processes. They are there. But
yes, the Integrity Commission is there. FID is there. MOCA is there. But why are you in court fighting with the Integrity Commission if you want to strengthen that body so that body can do its work independently? Does it make sense what you're saying compared to what you're in the courts doing at the moment, Prime Minister? Does it really make sense? I really don't think so. I don't know if you can answer that to yourself. But these two doesn't go together. You want to strengthen it, but you're in court fighting to struck it out. And you're in court fighting to nullify a report of the same institution you want to strengthen. That's why you can't talk to us about NEPA, you know, Colin Jones. How are you? This is why you cannot have the conversation about the whole NEPA issue, or you cannot speak to the nation on it, because like anything else to do with money, Prime Minister, and justice, you shagged up, you messed up. This is a Prime Minister rolling from one mess comfortably to the other. And he does it shamelessly. That's the thing about it. This Prime Minister behavior is shameless. And him just run around as if nothing is happening. The Prime Minister just run around as if it's okay to sidestep the nation and important matters of such. Can we trust anything this Prime Minister says? The evidence is quite clear that the man is deranged, deluded narcissist who say the things and believe them even though he know they won't work. Even when he know that we won't believe it. Him continue to run that useless narrative. He continued to run that useless narrative. Andrew Holness has failed as a leader. Andrew Holness has become an open wound and a mess to the Jamaica Labour Party, which he leads. And it boggles me as to why they just sit comfortably and allow Andrew Holness to just take the whole of them down to the bottom of wherever he's going with them. Over the past 5 years, Jamaica has consistently ranked as the second most murderous Caribbean nation, surpassed only by Haiti, a nation rocked by extreme violence, including beheading, chopping, and burning of bodies since the murder of its president in 2021. Should I play that again in context to this? Because we're the most murderous. We sit very well in the most corrupt. But this government peddled the dream that he's really doing something about corruption. This government enjoy weird dreams. Because it's only weird dream that you can get in and stay in constantly like that. And then the Prime Minister regularly chimes around the country, convincing us. Sometimes it feels like the Prime Minister is holding a gun to our head, Wayne Evans, to believe that murders are down. But this is a article that's just come out in the Gleaner. Hold on there. This is an article. Why these things love behave? Hold on. I'm gonna have to reopen that page again. Hold on. Let me share screen because Andrew Holness may walk and talk, say, I lie me a tell pan in country. Andrew Holness will have the nerve to walk and talk, say, I lie me a tell pan in country. Because this is what they do. They blame social media. Sits at number 2, most murderous Caribbean nation, Prime Minister. We just sit below Haiti, one notch below Haiti. And Haiti is having all sort of civil unrest and gang violence. Imagine if we were in the rickety-tickety that was going on in Haiti. The whole island would have empty by now. Cause a couple of way out there, you know. A few away out there. So now than done we by now, if we not go on so, and we don't in the conflict we are going to Haiti. Imagine we have such political conflict, because for political conflict at Jamaica, at Dolly House, to Haiti political conflict, like literally Dolly House. Imagine we did have the Dolly Houses in there. Because with them now fight over anything, you know. At least in a Haiti, they can tell you what them a fight for. With them now fight for nothing. And Haiti about 11 million or more people. Compared to we family go school, which a long time now. Come remember me drop out of school, a basic school. And me here say we are 3 million. Now me here say we are 2.8 million. I don't know. It look like over the last 50 years we have not grown. Because of the whole heap of way where Dr. Chang have wiped off of this planet in Jamaica. Dart Elliott, how are you? So I don't know what Andrew Holness is talking about when he try to peddle these things and run around the country and tell us crime is down. This is not what's you gonna call it? This is not mass murder. It is multiple victim violent incident and all sort of nonsense the Prime Minister come up with when him embarrassed to face the facts of his failure. Massive failure. We surpass El Salvador, Wayne Evans, because Haiti are number 1, we are number 2. So we are going with ourselves. You stay there. We are going decently with ourselves. Imagine we did have the problems that exist in Haiti. We wouldn't have nobody there for throw water on fire. Ukraine. Hold on, let me see what other issue are on my slide. This Prime Minister have no shame. Pull your case from in front of the court, Prime Minister, and come out and have a press conference and tell us the truth about NEPA. Tell us the role that you played in NEPA, Prime Minister. let us know who gave the direction for another prosecutor to be entered and who okay the deal was signed behind our back. You cannot continue to lead like this in a silent mess. What you are is a mess of a leader. And you cannot just barrage through in silence. You cannot just roll from one crisis to another without giving any explanation to the people or think you don't owe us an explanation, Verna Adams. Money grabbing, shameless man. Minister of Milk. Minister of Milk said, if you don't want to start on a dairy business and you don't have the money, we have 20 million worth of equipment one can come lease from we. Lease the equipment them and you can start on a cow milk business. Minister of Milk. Joan Bailey, how are you? Oh, the minister, them say them work and help people, you know. Me see them slide green, we have 14 parish and how much engineering give out? 18. I don't know how we share the 18 engine anyway. But slide green, so if you come rent, or if you come rent equipment from him to set up on a dairy farm, Minister of Milk says, if you want to get a foothold in the business, you can come rent equipment from the government. All right? So just so you know, say, the government have equipment to rent, but you can go rent equipment from the government. You know, no shameless thieving, ill-gotten gains, corrupt prime minister. You and your ill-gotten gains. And we're waiting to hear from Indicom what the outcome will be in the investigation against these barbaric so-called officers that meant to be serving and protect. But because them are some little licky battyman from round a gully, anybody can tip them to pull down them pants, or anybody can order them like a Doberman dog to attack another human being. So, I only hope, as I said earlier in the show, TJ and Maya sue the JCF vicariously. Also, sue the two police officers or how much ever of them, as well as suing Ramesh Company. They must pay for their dirty deeds. So, I'm going to hope we don't cover up for the pig, the corporate thug, the violent gangster. And I want to ask Ramesh a few questions. Have you ever ordered your police friends to kill anyone in Jamaica? Is this the first time, Ramesh, is this the first time you've ordered the Jamaica Constabulary Force members to carry out a violent attack? Do you use the Jamaica Constabulary Force for any extortion purposes, Ramesh? Do you use them to carry out threats and attack on your opponents? The investigation should be broadened, because I don't think it is possible the first time that Ramesh would order the members of the JCF. This pig, which is like a ticks in the air, because that's what Ramesh is, a ticks in the air pig, who leash off people who build themselves from bottom up. Then him come and leash off of them. You love dead meat too much, Ramesh. You love dead meat too much. Not because you look like a beach whale means that every dead fish on the beach you want to arc up, Mr. Shark. Go and actually find something to do of your own rather than feeding off other people's success. Go and find something to do of your own. Strive off your own talent or your own rubbish or stupidity. Just like them use whatever them can use to elevate themselves on TikTok. For you sit down in a lane and lay wait them for rob them Ramesh. Because that's what you are doing. You wait till them bill and you sit down a roadside for rob them. You pig. I hope they make sure them sue you, your company, and the JCF. And make sure an example is being set. Because this is not the first time Ramesh would have ordered members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to carry out such a bullshit. Sorry, Aries, how are you? New word, add to the Jamaican dictionary. Messful leader. No, sir, messful leader. Messful leader. Andrew, messy. Messful leader. Huh? No, sir. See a word God in a dictionary there. Messful leader. Andrew Holness. Hashtag messful leader. No, sir. Andrew get a new name to the Pan Global TV from Aries. Messful leader. You're a bag of mess. Everything that this Prime Minister touch, it turns into one old gaping mess. Hold on there. Let me show you this bagger.
In a private vehicle. And I drive on a bank other vehicle, reckless and dangerous. Look them on. Take a good look. More and more, what kind of driving that? If you go about them private business, not them private car and you just quarter people so. Transport needs to get charged to reckless and dangerous driving. I say one bus full of transport with one carry load of them what I go. See? In a private vehicle. And I drive on a bank other vehicle, reckless and dangerous. Look them on. Take a good look. More and more, what kind of driving that?
These are the Transport Authority people there.
Private car and you just quarter people so.
Those are Transport Authority people that say, you know.
I said one bus full of transport with one carry load of them what I go. See? In a private vehicle. And I drive on a bank other vehicle, reckless and dangerous. Look them on. Take a good look. More and more, what kind of driving that? If you go about them private business, not them private car and you just quarter people so.
This is the public conversation, Bobby Montague, that the country needs to have. That is a public conversation that the country needs to have. One, about our messful leader and his everlasting barrage of lies. We want to hear from the Prime Minister about NEPA. We want to hear from the Prime Minister about Heart NSTA or whatever it is. We want to hear from the Prime Minister about the JDF member that has been charged for the 47 million phishing scam at NCB. We want to hear from the Prime Minister about so much things. We want to hear from the Prime Minister if you agree with Ramesh and the JCF members' behavior, because he is one of your clan and big supporter. So we want to know. There's a lot of things, Prime Minister, we want to know from you. But done your sir, come back tonight. Me are coming back tonight, Prime Minister. So it not done yet, sir. Perspective power. How are you? let us just the characteristics of all right. Wanna put up the characteristics of a messful leader. Characteristics of a messful leader. Ekran Sound System, Joan Bailey. What are the characteristics of a messful leader? Answers, please. Messful leader. Messful Andrew. Everlasting mess. The Prime Minister never get 1 minute to revive from one mess, especially since the local government election. The Prime Minister literally blue waves, huggish attitude. That is one of the attributes of a messful leader, a huggish attitude. What? Wayne, I'd prefer to hear tomorrow, but maybe in the next 70 years would be more what the Prime Minister would want to give us a timeline for. But what are the characteristics of a messful leader? Blue Waves said, huggish attitude. Why, may I tell you, our country is at a point where we don't have integrity neither yard or abroad. Neither yard or abroad, we can't, because when we have the head of the stream so dirty, the head of the stream in tug of war with the Integrity Commission, the head of the stream which is at war with the legislature, because asking the court to strike out section 14.5 of the Corruption Prevention Act. This is not a war with the Integrity Commission in that particular piece. That's a war with the legislature. That is not the war with the Integrity Commission. The war with the Integrity Commission is separate, where he's asking to declare the report null and void and all of that, and that they have paced the corporate veil and all of that. That is his charge against the Integrity Commission. But asking the court to strike out section 14.5, that is an attack on the legislature. The legislature which his wife leads. His friend Tam Tavares leads the upper house. That is what your Prime Minister requests are. Strike out that which doesn't support me. And before we go, once again, the GoFundMe for Isaac Buchanan and the Portland team is pinned in the top of the chat. It's for the Portland flood relief. As you are aware that since Hurricane Beryl, Tropical Storm Raphael, and the continuous heavy rainfall from Darrell Vaz opened the portal over Portland. Portland needs an awful lot of assistance. Portland is a parish that has been handed over to a family and has been horribly forgotten by that wife and husband. So if you want to support the people of Portland in the flood relief campaign organized by their caretaker MP, their caretaker candidate, then please do hit the link in the top of the chat and offer your support. Jeffrey Gray. The court in Jamaica is like a dog without teeth when it comes to Andrew Holness and his illegal stuff he's doing. I wouldn't quite agree with that, Jeffrey. The court, it is that Andrew Holness is disgracefully relentless. That is more of the problem. Remember, the courts have been ruling against Andrew Holness since he's been in opposition. So I wouldn't wholeheartedly agree with that argument. I know our courts can be corrupt and toothless. But when it comes to Andrew Holness, they have been ruling against him since he was in opposition. It is that Andrew Holness is shameless, relentless, and barefaced, disgraceful of a person. That is what the actual problem for me more is. Because the court has ruled in several instances as to the Prime Minister's unconstitutional behavior. But Andrew Holness is just relentlessly disgraceful. The Prime Minister has no shame. The same Prime Minister was said he might go tighten up the Integrity Commission and all of the accountability frameworks and in governance. The Prime Minister, same one in a court, has strike it out. This Prime Minister is disgraceful.
I couldn't leave this stage without saying to you that corruption is not an issue that occupies the front of my mind. I couldn't leave here today and say to you that we still need to tighten up on the new anti-corruption systems and framework that is in place. In a sense, if you were to compare Jamaica to all the other countries in the Caribbean, our framework for anti-corruption would be the most advanced. It is not for want of putting in the legislative and institutional processes. They are there. But you have to bear in mind that we are also very new on the scale of dealing with anti-corruption issues. So there is a learning curve that we are going through. What is important is that the government supports the development of the institution so it can accelerate very quickly on that learning curve and provide the resources so that they can move very quickly on the learning curve, and that the government does not intervene or interfere. And that message goes to the opposition as well. Leave the anti-corruption and policing agencies to do their jobs.
Leave the corruption agencies and the police, Lawrence Wood, to do their jobs. The Prime Minister said that in 2019. However, that same Prime Minister is in court trying to struck all that which he said out. Thank you very much for being here this evening on Drive Time London. It was good to see you all turning out. Join us back tonight for the People's Point of View right here on the Global Television Group. Thank you very much. Walk good, everyone, and see you all later.
I truly believe our political system needs some fixing. Too much you hear about corrupt politicians and nothing happen. Too much you hear about politicians who take away poor people money and none of them reach in jail. and to the young people at home or wherever you are, and to all Jamaicans, I have one question for you. Take a look at your communities. Take a look at the sliding dollar. Take a look at the failing healthcare and ask yourselves, where is the progress? Where is the progress that this arrogant and disrespectful government keeps talking about? With this existing callous government, matters have gone from bad to worse.